Hey guys, saw this comment on one of our video and figured it was related to someone out there who is moving from one place to another. Figured might as well answer the question. It might be relevant to anyone out there who's experiencing the same thing. So the question goes, hey guys, I had a follow-up questions if you don't mind. The reason I was considering bridging finance was to avoid the stress of selling first and having to book removal company, store my furniture somewhere, and then having to book them once again once a new place is secured, doubling the cost. In the meantime, it's hard to get short-term rental after selling the first place, unless I spend a huge amount on Airbnb. I also need a guarantee peaceful and secure place to work from home for at least 7 hours per day. And you never know what you'll get with Airbnb. With bridging finance, there would be no disruption in my life, and I just need to book a removal people once instead of putting them in a storage. And I'll be able to work from home and avoid paying a huge amount of rent to Airbnb. In my scenario, it seems like I'd actually save money with bridging finance and save huge emotional toll. What are your thoughts on this? This is a moving to a place within the same city. So there's a few scenarios in here. We went from one city to a different city, which is about 1,000 kilometers apart. In that aspect of it, we have to move and rent a place. Well, we didn't rent a place. We actually rent on the Airbnb. We went the toll of Airbnb. So overall, from experience, if you already made that decision of actually going through the bridging finance, then by all means do that. We didn't go through that route. We would for us, the less paperwork, the less headache, and we're trying to not to use the bank as much as possible. So if you're going through that route, then by all means go through that route. There is no right or wrong way. It's just like it's a matter of actually making the decision and figuring out what is best for you. Yeah, for us, it was best for us where we packed our bag from Sydney and moved to Brisbane. And while that was happening, we didn't secure a second place. So we sold our place. It was settling within about I think it was like a week. Within about 6 weeks. But in that time, we were looking around to buy another principal place of home. However, it was in a different city. So instead of us going forward and backward, which is going to be costly, we decided to pack our bag, pack our furniture, and put them in a storage unit in here in Brisbane before we actually secured this place. So that was sort of the decision that we went through. With the bridging finance, what I don't like is what if the other party are unable to proceed or did not complete the purchase? So that means you have to pay for both. And the thing is, we didn't want that. We didn't want to have that leveraging, let's say, or the stress involved with that. We decided to just go, okay, we know we need to move out. We pack our bag, put it in the storage. While we have the cash to buy another property, we had, I think, roughly about 3 or 4 weeks of just looking around property, and before we found this place. In the meantime, we did rent Airbnb. Okay, we did go to the Airbnb route. We stayed in a property for roughly 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. However, we had to move, I think, twice. So when we arrived, we went from one property. We stayed there for about 3 weeks because that was they had other bookings lined up. And then while we were looking for another property, we had to move and to find another Airbnb. Both time there was no issues, but mind you though, we rent the whole entire place ourselves. So we had the house plus the internet plus the kids during school holiday. That was great. And then once we know we want to stay in a certain suburb within a certain area, so we decided to put the kids in the school system of where we are going to be. And then we try to find a rental property. If we can't find a rental property, we try to buy a house. Sorry, the other way around. We try to buy a house. If we can't buy a house, then we get the rental property. So we knew that there's that stress involved, but for us, we didn't go the route of the bridging finance. We just want to have less stress. Once we actually purchased this property, even though it wasn't settled just yet, as long as we got sales contract, the buyer agreed to it, to the price, the conditions that we put in there. If we didn't actually put a condition on this one, and then we did put building and pest inspection, actually bits and pieces. Come to think of it, and then once we actually got that place, we understand that we're going to be here for another, let's say, 2 weeks or something. We also notified the Airbnb host that, hey, we're going to be, as soon as we finish, we're done. We're not staying in here anymore because we're going to be moving to this place. Then we use the same removalists that went from interstate to move our furniture to this place where we're staying at the moment. That's our way. Yes, there's a lot of headache, but moving interstate, it might be a bit different than moving, somewhere across the road, let's say, whereas within say 100K radius. Yeah, it might work for some, but we choose this route because that's what we know. We choose this route because it makes sense for us, and we didn't want to go to get another loan. We didn't want to pay the high interest. We didn't want to. I would rather have the headache of us going through burning our cash, let's say, instead of paying interest, just to have that a buffer, let's say. But overall, that's what we did. Both of the property that we stayed in Airbnb, there's no problem at all because we had the whole entire place ourselves. On the first one, we had that. On the second property, because we have to move from one location to another, the second property is a little bit weird because the I guess I don't know if they sublease or they converted the garage into I guess a studio or one bedroom. There was somebody living in there. However, there was a 100% disconnection between the main home and to whoever it is in the garage. So, but we both worked from home at that time. We did have the internet accessible more than 24 hours. What else is there? The transportation we need to learn because we don't know anywhere around here except we have to drive everywhere. And then food wise, supplies, it was easy access. There was a couple of fruit and veg shop or I guess butcher down the road in both location. And then obviously the your big hub, let's say, big shopping center hub, they do have supermarket in there. You get your Coles, your Woolworths, your Aldi in Westfield, and what else? There's no surprises in that aspect because we knew what the process going to be. But mind you, though, we were in a rush. As soon as we didn't want to wait for long. We didn't want to go to the rental property, hence why we need to have we actually purchased a house quickly with a quicker settlement, let's say. That was one of the conditions because we didn't want to go extend for another Airbnb. We did live in a suitcase. Like I said, we only got our suitcase, our clothing over 8 weeks period. At that time, we literally just burning through the same clothing over and over again, and it was a little bit weird because the fact that we don't have a physical address and we didn't know where to go. We didn't have a community or a location where we pick our home going to be, but that was one of the downside, I guess. However, overall, if I were to do it all over again, I would still do the same route. I would not go on, getting a loan somewhere just to have I guess, emergency. We use our emergency fund as an emergency. We understand that on the sale of the property in Sydney, we're going to have a buffer and using that buffer as an extra surplus, let's say, for in case we can't find a house or if we have to rent somewhere. But yeah, and at a certain point while we were buying a property, there's a certain elements where we have to sort of negotiate a little, bend it a little bit. For example, I didn't want a pool because most of the places have a pool that we go through. I don't want that. So, we can't find a flat land, so it has to be three leveled. Um, there's an element where you have to sort of negotiate on yourself, just so that way you actually have the place for yourself. Mind you, also, uh, we try not to have any loan as much as possible. Each to their own. Yeah, if you go through the route of bridging finance, you've probably already done your research on that aspect of it, and you've already gone through all the process, the paperwork. I guess speaking with a broker regarding it, and you understand it. We didn't want to go through that route at all. So, if you want to go through that route, then there's no right or wrong way of doing this. But it's just that from personal, I guess, based on our belief system when it comes to loan, or when it comes to I guess mortgage, or if not debt in the first place, we try not to use that at all. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, that's just based on our personal experience and based on our 2 cents. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, guys, if you like this type of content, and I'll see you on the next video.